Chapter 3. From Cornwall to Cattle Country. Ouch! Ow! That hurts, Mother. Joel gritted his teeth as Mother and John bent over his swollen hand and pressed gently along the back of his reddened fingers. Where does it pain most of all? Questioned Mother. She looked anxiously at the shiny, tight, stretched skin and the stiffened fingers. There, right there. No, all over, I guess. Oh, I can't tell, groaned Joel. My whole arm aches. It's been like this for days. Mrs. Badel tried 2 or 3 kinds of poultices on it, but none of them did any good. It hurts so bad I can hardly rest at night. That's why I went sound asleep in the wagon on the way home. Do you know what I'm going to do? Mother replied briskly. I'm going to try a remedy that our old neighbor next door told me about not long ago. When one of her grandchildren had a sore foot, she made a poultice that really proved to be a cure-all. She heated up some bramble leaves in a pan on the stove. When the blackberry leaves got all dry and crisped, she pounded them into small bits and mixed them with lime. Then she put this mixture on the inflamed place, and it drew out all the soreness and swelling. I think this treatment will heal your hand, son. At any rate, we'll try it, for something must be done at once, or you're likely to have a bad case of blood poisoning. Joel watched in dread as the mixture was heated and prepared, but a long sigh of relief burst from his lips as the hot poultice clung to his tortured hand. That really feels good, Mother, he said. I think it's going to help. I believe my hand'll get well in time for me to sail in January. And help it did. Joel reflected happily as he stood on deck and stared from his recently healed hand to the hurrying crowds that surged about him. He almost trembled from excitement of his first journey by train from the little town of Truro to the huge, sprawling city of Liverpool, with its crowded wharf. I can't believe that I'm really on board ship, waiting to sail out of the harbor, away from England and toward America. England is my home, and I love it. But oh, I'm fortunate to go to a country where everyone has an opportunity to take up the work he likes best. I'm fortunate to be going where I can earn more than 12 cents a day for my hard work. I'm going to do the best I can wherever I am or whatever I'm doing. Maybe I'll even have a chance to go on to school for a while. I want to learn all I can about everything. Joel jumped as the steamer's hoarse blast shook the foggy air. He stared wildly about as he thought that at last the big ship might be sailing after 2 days' wait in the fog-bound Mersey River. Mersey River. He shivered with a cold chill as the engine's suddenly throbbing sent a quiver through the decks. Looks as though we're off, cried a cheery voice close behind him. Guess we're really sailing at last. How do you feel? Sort of shaky in the stomach. I do. Shaky is the right word, laughed Joel. He smiled at the rosy-cheeked lad who had spoken to him. Right now I'm so excited I don't know whether I'm coming or going. But say, feel that motion? We're moving, sure and certain. About time, too, nodded his curly-headed companion. The constant noise from those foghorns has been awfully monotonous. They've been sounding day and night since we came on board. Too bad the fog's so thick we can't see anything. I counted most awfully on taking in all the sights, especially since I've never before been half this far from St. Ives. St. Ives? Exclaimed Joel. Is that your home? Why, we've almost been neighbors. I've lived most of my life at Glenharvard. Now I'm on my way to my father in Oregon. For a long time he's been working as a miner in the United States. Now he owns a large ranch in eastern Oregon. If he's changed a great deal, perhaps I won't know him when we meet. Perhaps my brother John won't know him either. I was only a small boy when father left home, and John is just 2 years older than I am. Say, I guess that'll be some experience, exclaimed his newfound friend. Are you going to meet your brother in New York? I hope so, for I don't know anyone there, and I have to go on to a place called Detroit, Michigan, where my cousins live. I've been wondering how I'd find my way around that big city. Folks who've been there say it's huge. Well, we'll get lost together then, laughed Joel, because no one's going to meet me until I get way out to a place called Burns in Harney County, eastern Oregon. My brother won't sail from here until July. First, he'll go to Nevada. Then, Mother plans to leave in August. We can't afford to travel together. Oregon! Exclaimed Joel's new traveling companion. You do have a long way to go. Well, I'm glad I spoke to you, for at least we can be together halfway across the United States. I guess we'd better introduce ourselves. I'm certainly glad to meet you, Harry, exclaimed Joel as they shook hands, and I'm glad we're going to be friends. To tell you the truth, I was wondering just how I would get along traveling alone. When I came on board, I was told I'd have to buy my own mattress if I wanted a place to sleep. For a while, I was afraid I'd have to pay for my meals, too. I don't have any extra money, and I couldn't go in debt to anyone. Mother never allowed that. I was just about ready to jump overboard and swim for shore. I thought 9 days without food would be a long, long time. You mean 11 days, don't you? Laughed Harry. Don't forget, we've been here 2 days already. It'll take 9 days more to make the Atlantic crossing. 9 and 2 make 11, or else I don't know my numbers. Wasn't it a relief to find out we could eat all we wanted and that the price of meals was included in our steamship ticket? I was just like you two, half afraid to ask questions and scared I'd make a mistake. Well, replied Joel, that's why I'm so glad we're together. We make lots of mistakes from now on, but at least we can make them together, and that'll be some comfort. Before Harry left the train to Detroit, Joel and Harry had many a good laugh at customs in America. Joel recalled the story his mother's cousin had told of seeing corn on the cob served at an American hotel. What in the world are they eating? He had asked a companion who shared a table with him. He had never seen corn prepared in any other way than cut off and served in small dishes. His companion was amused. Oh, you mean that bearded man with those yellow kernels all over his mustache? Why, that's corn. Corn on the cob, you know. Joel chuckled anew as he told how astonished his mother's relative had been. He continued, talking of strange food reminds me of those tomatoes. I remember what they look like. One of our neighbors brought several back home to England when he returned from a trip to America. Mother said he must have picked them when they were green, or they'd have spoiled on the way. Anyhow, they didn't look good to me. I don't see how anyone can eat them. Nothing looks too good right now, sighed Harry. I miss my mother's English cooking. Meat and potato pasties, suet dumplings, seedy cakes and plum pudding for Christmas and New Year, sighed Joel. All at once he felt homesick for the little village of Gunhavn, which nestled quietly amongst within earshot of the waves that dashed against the high rocky cliffs of Land's End. All at once he felt half a lifetime removed from all that he had known, a stranger in the wide expanse of America. Say, began Harry, cleared his throat and changed the subject almost as though he saw the telltale moisture in Joel's blue eyes. I've got an idea. Why don't we try to find a plum pudding to buy? There surely must be some place in New York where we can buy a tinned one. After all, they're shipped to Australia and India and other places, aren't they? If we can get one, we'll at least have something good and filling to eat on the train. Here, I'll ask this police officer. He should be able to help us. Joel and Harry could scarcely wait for supper hour to arrive on the train. Joel had almost dropped his vassal as he ran for the waiting cars. But although he stumbled, he clung fast to the just purchased plum pudding. I wonder if it'll taste at all like Mother's, he said longingly. As Harry finished opening the tin, he stared down at the dark, fruity mass within. Mmm, it's filling, even if that's about all I can truthfully say for it, he added, swallowing hard on a tasteless bite. If it's filling, it'll be well worth the purchase price, Harry added. He repeated his statement more than once before he said goodbye and left the train in Detroit. I'll leave you my share of the remaining pudding, he said smilingly, giving Joel a firm handshake. Looks as if you'll need it before you get to Burns. You'll have to make that pudding and your money stretch like rubber, or you'll be hungry when you get there, he warned. I wish I had a few extra coins to spare, but I don't. Anyway, you'll make out. It'll be only a few more days now, and then you'll be with your father. Goodbye, and good luck. Even though we may never meet again, I'll often think of you and hope you're able to do all the things you want so very much to do. Goodbye, Harry. Goodbye, and good luck to you, Joel called. He waved a last farewell to his new friend. Then, settling back in his seat, he felt more alone than he had at any time since he first left Gunhavn, and had waved goodbye to Mother and John. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Joel woke and slept and woke again. He ate sparingly and drank much water, for he found that water was at least temporarily filling. For hours at a time he stared wonderingly at the broad expanse that was America, the rolling snow-covered farmlands of Michigan and northern Illinois, the flat, fertile corn country of Iowa and Nebraska, the winter bleak and arid expanses of Wyoming, the picturesque mountain passes of western Idaho, and then the high desert-like plateau of eastern Oregon. He caught his breath as the long train ground to a midday stop. and he heard the conductor call, Ontario, Ontario, folks, step right this way. He stumbled as he hurried down the aisle, for he felt stiff and lame from days and nights of much sitting and cramped sleeping in his chair car seat. The crisp, cold wintry air stung in his nostrils and tingled against his hot cheeks as he swung down the steep train steps. That feels good, he said under his breath. He looked around quickly for other passengers on the westbound stagecoach and saw 5 or 6 people hurrying into the station in the welcome warmth of its glowing coal stove. Guess I'd better get in there myself while I'm nice and warm, Joel thought. There's no sense in standing out in zero weather and getting chilled to the bone. We'll have a long ride today, according to Father's letter. Let's see now. Just what did he write about the stage schedule? Joel pulled off his heavy gloves and reached into his coat pocket for a carefully treasured letter from his father. Here it is. We leave Ontario early afternoon and stay at Vail, Oregon tonight. Tomorrow we'll leave Vail early and stop all night at Beulah. The third night we'll sleep at Pine Creek, and the fourth night will be in Burns. I wonder what it will be like in Hardy Valley. All the long journey to his new home, the words kept ringing in Joel's ears. All day, as the stagecoach jerked and bounced along over the snowy, rutted roads, he tried to picture father in the new home to which he was going. All night he dreamed strange dreams in which their well-filled stagecoach lurked along behind the driver's 4 heavy horses. All night he seemed to hear the driver's shouting voice or hear the crack of his heavy whip held in his warmly gloved hand. And then, late on the afternoon of January 31, 1889, the fourth day after leaving Ontario, the driver stopped at the top of a long, steep incline to rest the sweating horses. Joel saw him point his whip toward the wide valley floor. Yonder's Harney Valley and Burns, he called to the weary, shivering passengers. Won't be much longer now till we'll be there. Reckon you'll all be glad too. After being shook up considerably over these rough roads. Hardy Valley! Exclaimed Joel. How often during the journey he had pictured his new land according to his father's summertime description. All the way he had thought of father's words. Its valley floors are covered with lush green grass that in summertime stretches upward as high as a horse's belly. Its fields lie ripe with rich grains harvested in the irrigated regions. Its nearby hills are covered with rimrock and sagebrush, and its distant mountains are covered with fine timber. Why, I'd forgotten that at this season of the year the valley floor must be covered by deep winter snow. Look, in places it has drifted right over the fence tops, exclaimed Joel. Well, sure, son, laughed the driver. Did you expect to drive for 4 long days through nothing but snow and then wind up your trip by plunging downhill into warm green valley? Hardy Valley's a wonderful place. Sure ain't certain, but it isn't quite able yet to turn the seasons out of the natural order of things. So when it's winter up on these here hills, it's winter down there in the valley too. Of course it would be, stammered Joel. He felt his ears burn with embarrassment at his stupid remark. I was just, well, I was just thinking about my father's description of this country. I've been thinking about it so hard ever since I left England that somehow I just expected to open my eyes and see it all there before me according to father's description. Don't feel bad 'cause I laughed, son, added the kindly stage driver. It won't be many months until you'll see it just that away too. And what's more, you'll see wild game by the thousands. Deer and antelope herds, ducks, geese, quail. Oh, it's a settler's paradise for certain. You can't go wrong by coming to Harney Valley to live. Joel drew a long, deep breath and rested his tired body against the hard wooden back of the seat. Steadily he gazed across the waiting miles of the small settlement to the small settlement of Burns. He saw that the setting sun glinted redly upon tiny distant window panes, and in spite of his former eagerness to arrive, he felt his heart sink as low as did the sun over the rounded western hills. Suddenly Joel felt himself touched by a strange sadness that he could not shake off. He felt himself to be an object hung in empty space, having neither a beginning nor an end. He felt far, far away from all that was near and dear and familiar. It's a long, long way to England and to Mother and John, he thought, over and over again. What if I don't like this country? What if Father isn't glad I came? How could I go back to Gunhavern when I have no money? Question after question buzzed through his aching head. He longed for Mother in the comforting sound of her voice at evening worship. And then at last the driver roared, "Whoa!" Joel heard the heavy wheels grind to a stop. He heard the stage doors opened and listened to a deep, excited voice asking, "Well, have you got a passenger for me? I'm looking for a young lad from England." "Father!" exclaimed Joel. From his high perch he stared down into the bearded face below. "I'm up here on top. Here I am, Father." Feeling stiff and cold and tired, Joel awkwardly clambered down. Awkwardly he reached out towards his father's enveloping embrace. But now through his veins ran a warm, singing gladness that filled him with happiness and a deep joy in his coming. "You're here at last, my boy. You're here at last," choked father. It it's good to see you, son. Oh, but it's good to see you." "And it's good to be with you, father," replied Joel confidently. He looked about him at the laughing passengers and the village lights that seemed to glow with a cheery welcome. Last of all, he looked at his father's glad smile and shining eyes. "It's been a long, long journey from Cornwall, England, to Oregon's cattle country," he said. "But it's wonderful to be here with you in America. Thank you, Father, for bringing me to Harney Valley."